Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Meno Lounge. I'm Julie Gordon-White, CEO of MenoWell, Menopause Energy and Protein Bars. And yes, we are still on location in Hawaii this week, literally right out of the ocean on location. So super glad to be here with you. We have one of my favorite people coming on today talking about, of course, one of my favorite subjects, Megan. I always practice Vigeo because it's such an awesome word. I want you to tell us what it means when you hop on here. But talking about nutrition simplified for women in midlife. Hello, all the way from Hawaii to Idaho. How are you?
Julie, I'm good. I didn't know you were in Hawaii. I'm a little jealous.
I'm just sending the good vibes all the way. I hope you're not too cold over there.
It's like high of 40s today, but the sun did come out, so I will relish that all day long.
Counts.
Yeah.
That counts.
Yeah.
You know, this is a great time of year for me on the West Coast to take a little bit of a break. Of course, I'm always working, but I promised my husband just a little because there's no kids. You know, we're empty nesters, and we're not grandparents yet. So we're at that place where we like to go on vacation when there's no little people all over, getting hit in the head with footballs because our kids hit everybody in the head with footballs in the pool, for many years. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've got boys, and it's intense. It's wild, it's loud, and it's a totally different kind of vacation. It's fun too, but it's different.
We always tried to do like a big family vacation, and then Dave and I would sneak off for those small ones to replenish without having to worry about feeding everybody. And hey, where's Scotty? Like, what happened to him? Why is he always the one sneaking away? So
great. I love it.
Well, I'm super excited to speak with you today. When you're away, it really helps you reconnect to nutrition and movement. And, I've spent a lot of time in the gym while I've been here, but more time because I wanted to lift weights, but more time out there on the beach and using the sand, to work my legs, in the ocean for meditation, all those good things. And so we're talking about nutrition simplified. So let's just zoom back a little bit, Megan Dahlman, and tell everybody, I know you are a nutritionist, you're a personal trainer, you're a coach, you do a wonderful work for women in midlife, but tell us a little bit about your company and why we're having this conversation today.
Yeah. So I'm so glad to be back a second time. This is such a blessing. It's so fun. And last time we talked about back pain and core and more mechanical functional stuff. This time we get to talk about what goes in your mouth, which is so fun. So my company is called Vigeo, and we really aim to help women, especially 40 plus, feel strong, powerful, and just equipped to take care of their body well at every phase of life, but in a simple way. Like, we simplify it. In fact, my podcast is called Care Simplified.
Highly recommend. There's a great episode about your last 10 pounds. Highly recommend.
Yeah. So it's, the world of the fitness and nutrition, it can get so complicated so quick because we have so much great studies at our fingertips now. We have a lot of great information, and more is coming out all the time, but it's so easy, especially in a world of social media, to get really overwhelmed with that and to be like, I don't know where to start. And chances are we jump into the deep end without realizing that there was a shallow end that we could have started with, and we would have been far more successful in the long run if we started there. So really, most of the time when I'm working with women, we can get the results that they're looking for in their body, whether that's improving their muscle mass, increasing their metabolism, helping their joint pain go away, just helping them feel and move healthier without doing anything complicated. And it's such a relieving
work, though, Megan, because complicated is the only thing that works, right? That's what our brain, that's what we think. And also, don't you think women, everyone is kind of looking for the magic bullet all the time. So if we make it more complex than just do the simple, basic things that really work.
We want the quick fix. And so we sometimes feel like if I do the big complicated thing and I do it for just one day, then that's going to get me the results that I want. But like 99.9% of the time, it's the simple, most basic thing done consistently over time that will get you the results that you really, really want. And we're so very impatient. And I always say, like, if you need a cheerleader on your team, tortoise. Like, I am team tortoise. Like,
I will that. Be team tortoise. Right.
Yes.
Slow and steady wins the race every time.
Steady always wins the race. And that's what I love so much about working with women that are kind of past that phase of life where it's like, I have a swimsuit I have to get ready for next week. Like, what? No, we can't. No. Whatever you're going to do to, like, shove yourself into those clothes for a week, like, that is just horribly unhealthy. And at this point in life, we finally make it to where we're, like, a lot wiser and tend to have a longer mindset. And it's just so much more fun to work with and more coachable. Women are far more coachable because they're like, I'm over it. Right. I'm over those quick fixes. I've been there. I've done it. And the unfortunate stats show that the average adult will go on a diet over 126 times in the course of their life.
Well, I know that to be true. Being a small, a 5'1" person. Yeah. Because if you're, if you like food, all those things, it can be a challenge, and always trying to find that thing. I mean, that's kind of how I ended up in this nutrition space, struggling with my own 10 pounds of weight gain during menopause. And how do I simplify the way I approach nutrition and manage sugar cravings and high fiber, all those good things. So I agree. And we are more patient in midlife. To an extent, I will have to say, because, we know those crash diet things that we used to do when we were younger, or getting on the treadmill and running, for an hour. It's actually counterintuitive, right? It doesn't work, and it stresses the body, and we end up gaining more back anyway. So, but I still think, although being on vacation, I see a lot of beautiful bodies of all shapes, all out there. I just can't quite get the whole, like, no rear end swimsuit yet.
I don't get that either. I'm like,
whoa.
For me, like, I don't care how, like, lean and toned I am. My bum is never going to look good hanging out and for all the world to see.
I don't know. I have seen some beautiful bums, I would say, out here, and I did tell my husband, I'm like, well, if my butt looked like that, I think I might actually be wearing that swimsuit, but it doesn't. So I'm going to keep that cottage cheese to myself, if that's.
Well, at least you'd have the color. Like, mine would be like white. Like, so, like,
I've seen it all, Megan, out here. So, I'd say, free to be you and me, but I just think it's interesting. But yeah, loving our body the way we are and going for health, being healthy and strong first. And when we focus on those things, then all the other things that the benefits, like the cherry on top, they come.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that I said in that episode that you mentioned, losing those last 10 pounds. Like, sometimes we have this, like, idea in our mind of what our ideal should be. And actually, often us at our healthiest is not actually that number. And so, like, what if instead we pursued, let me see how strong I can get. Let me see how much muscle I can put on my body. Let me see how healthy I can become, how fit, how agile, how pain-free I can become. And then just kind of let the body fat shake out where it may. And let especially the number on the scale shake out where it may, because who knows what that number should be. I have this weird number in my brain of what I think it should be, but that might not be me at my healthiest.
Well, and at midlife, because the number that we had, this fantasy number from high school, God forbid, but okay, so my number was from my freshman year in college, at 125. I'm happy to share. I'm 58. I had this ideal 125 always. And to be honest, it still, like, lingers back here, 125, 125. But I feel strong at 130. 132 even, because the muscle is different. And my 125, I actually in some ways look smaller at 130, 132 than 125, because I have less fat, like the fat that was in your face when you're younger, all those things. So we have to be so careful about that scale. It can really mess with us, mostly in our minds.
Well, and it can really derail a lot of the progress that we're making, especially if you're on, you know, what we call team tortoise. When you're doing the slow and steady path, like stepping on the scale every day can really derail you, because depending on, you know, what your hormones have to be doing at any given moment, you know, what you ate last night, you know, like so many things play
literally
a role.
what you ate last night, the salt content, the sodium, and what you ate last night can ruin your whole week.
Yeah, there's so many things that play a role. And so it's like, I have no control over the scale. What I do have control over are my actions and my habits. And so let me just put all of my focus and attention on those things and make sure I'm doing what I can do to be as healthy and fit as I can be. So yeah, and let the scale just do what it does. It just weighs your body. That's all it does.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you say something about we shouldn't just focus on what we eat, it's how we eat. Tell us more about what you mean.
So here's the thing about eating that a lot of us never learned, is that eating is a skill. And even though we come out of the womb needing to eat, many of us never learned how to eat. And eating, I don't know if you're much of a skier. I'm a skier. I'm a snowboarder in the winter. Okay, so when you go up to a ski mountain, you've got the bunny hill, you know, you got the little, the green circle hills, the easy ones, right? That's where you start. If you're brand new to skiing, you do the bunny hill. And then as you get more skill, as you develop more abilities, you start to work your way up to the mountain. It would be bonkers and absolutely ridiculous and unwise to walk up to the mountain never having skied before and immediately go to the double black diamond hills.
It would be death, right? Bad idea.
It would be terrible. You don't have the skills, you don't have the experience, the know-how, you don't have the body control yet. You don't even know how to manage the ski lift. Right. But that's what we do with eating. We step into nutrition and we think, oh, I need to lose some weight. And we immediately go to all the double black diamond type of eating skills.
Oh, what would
things that are
be?
Very,
yeah, you got me intrigued. What's a double black diamond
eating skills? And you're going to be shocked at what these are. These are very advanced levels of eating. This is calorie counting. This is macronutrient counting. This is intermittent fasting. This is carb cycling. These are very advanced skills of eating. And yet we have been taught that this is what you do when you eat healthy. And that is not.
Okay, Megan, I'm going to have to calorie counting. I get macros, I get carb cycling. If you have to look it up, it's complicated. That's what I would say. Yeah. Okay, calorie counting. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to push back on that. But just tell us more. Why is that advanced? Because that's what we know. If you want to lose weight, not necessarily eat healthily, but lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. So give us more on that. Why is that advanced?
That is true. However, when you approach nutrition and your own eating habits first, your goal should be a healthy eater, someone who eats the appropriate amount of energy for your body. And if you're coming straight at it as like, I have no idea how to pay attention to food and how to eat and when to eat, and you go straight to counting calories, that is just like you're walking up to the ski hill and you're going straight for the black diamond.
Wow.
Okay. So
that is huge. I think it's so important. We're going to make a clip out of that because women, it's what we're trained from day one. You have to keep your calories low. You have to count your calories. Don't eat more than 1,200 calories. Don't eat 1,000 calories, you know. And if you can have an 800 calorie day, you're winning. And that's why all these trackers are so huge. Yeah. But wow, it's important to note danger zone, danger, danger, danger.
That should be your very last resort. Like calorie counting, intermittent fasting, even macro counting, carb cycling, all of these things are so technical and difficult to do actually properly. And there's so many other easier skills, more basic skills that will probably still get you the results you're looking for before you ever even have to get to that zone. And when you go straight to double black diamond eating, all you're going to experience is a face plant.
Wow. Which is why people gain what I don't know the statistic, I should probably know this, of how women especially regain weight after a strict diet, right? Most people don't keep that weight off because of the complexity probably of what they were undertaking in order to achieve it. And it's hard to maintain.
And the average time span that someone actually adheres to a diet is 6 days.
When you start on Monday and you get to Saturday.
Saturday
night, I need a glass of wine and a hamburger, please.
Yeah, you're white knuckling and you're like, oh my goodness, I am on a double black diamond hill. What am I doing here? And you're like, I'm the failure. No, you're not. No one took the time to teach you how to eat at a more beginner level. And this is not like demeaning or saying you're not good enough. It's saying like, let's start with the foundation stuff first and understand that eating is a skill. Let's make sure that those most basic foundation pieces of eating are in place first before you ever try to implement the most difficult things. You might find you never need to. And most of the women I coach through eating, they're like, oh my gosh, you taught me the most basic things. I'm never at any point in my life ever going to need to go to those more complicated things. This is so much more sustainable and way more fun anyway. So I feel like we should talk about how to eat, like the basics then, of what that looks like. You're reading my mind. Okay, now I know no double diamond. Stay off the double diamond of eating. Yeah. Calorie counting, macro counting. And these are surprising, dare I say, controversial things to say, Megan, which I love because anyone who follows any hashtag around weight loss, belly fat, loss at midlife, you're going to see all these things. Intermittent fasting, huge, 16-8, right? Those kinds of things. So, okay, I want to hear what you have to say. So we know we've got to have that skill. So how do we eat? It starts with the how, because if you think about all of those other methods of eating, it's all about what and how much, right? It's all about what you eat and how much you eat. If we start with the how, it makes everything else so much easier. So the how of eating is making sure that you're eating at regular intervals throughout the day. Okay, so we're making sure that you're never going for long spans of time without eating, and then you get overly hangry, and then you overeat and you're like trying to stick with your calorie count that you were told by your app, and that's significantly difficult now because like you're just off. So the point here is that if it's a mealtime, you eat. Like period. If it's a mealtime, you eat. If it is a mealtime, you eat. You stop what you're doing, you prioritize putting food in your mouth, and you make sure that you eat. If it's not a mealtime, here's the flip side of it. If it's not a mealtime, you don't eat. It's not a mealtime. So this is where the discipline comes into place, because someone's like, well, then like, won't I just be like eating all the time? Like, no, we need to have these regular 3 to 4 hour cycles of eating throughout the day. If you do a good job of eating at a real mealtime, then you're nice and full until the next mealtime. So you're not going to find yourself grazing and snacking and finding chips and candy all day long. So if it's a mealtime, you eat. If it's not a mealtime, you don't eat. You wait until your next meal. You should know when that is because it's a mealtime. You're eating at a mealtime. So that's the first how. The next how is you're eating slowly. We are so horrible at scarfing our food. And let me tell you, if you have a habit of scarfing your food, you will almost always struggle with the how much you eat and the what you eat. And so this is one of those this is the bunny hill skill of you've got to eat slowly. And I will say, if you have kids, you eat fast, right? Because especially when they're little, and it's a habit I've had to work myself out of, because having 3 small kids, you better eat or, somebody's running from the table or somebody's hitting somebody over the head with a piece of broccoli and now you're done, right? So you got to, now coaching women in midlife, it's like, wait a second, like those habits those survival habits. This is how you've been eating. Yeah. This is how you've been eating for the last 20 years. And this habit around your food is not okay. Yeah. So we've got to start to untrain that out of you, and we start to learn how to eat slower. Just take your your very next meal, hit the timer on your phone, see how long you eat that meal normally. If it's 3 minutes, that's fine. Let's make sure the next time you eat that, if it was breakfast, let's have breakfast be 3.5 minutes next time. Like we'll just slowly start to stretch it out. And so being a slow eater, when you get down the road and you start thinking about how much you should be eating, that is so much easier to manage if you already are someone who eats slowly. So eating slowly is one of those most basic habits that it's so worth mastering. Like the cascade effect it has on all of your other food choices is huge. So that's the second thing, is making sure that you're eating slowly. And then making sure that as you're eating, you're being very mindful about what is actually going in your mouth. Like stop and taste it. Like actually notice the textures, notice the flavors, notice the herbs, the spices, notice how it's making you feel. Think through, how is this going to make me feel in 30 minutes? How is this going to make me feel in 3 hours? How is this going to make me feel tomorrow? And be honest with your answers to that, and really be aware of what you're eating. Years ago, I had this horrible habit of I would drink white chocolate lattes, like white chocolate mochas all the time. That was my thing. That was my thing. That was my thing. That was like my treat to myself. That was my little escape. And I woke up one day and I realized I have a horrible stomach ache and a headache every day that I have this white chocolate mocha. I get this like stomach ache and headache without fail. And I started to really park on that feeling and notice, like, started to really make that strong connection. Like, I don't feel good.
Were you drinking that in the morning or after? When
midday,
did you want
for
that?
me, it was, midday. I was equal opportunity. I was.
If you're driving by, let me go get,
Yeah. And it was like mid-morning, maybe. The same with like Diet Coke. I used to drink Diet Coke, and I finally made that connection. Like, I have the rest of my day is ruined because I have this headache. And so I was able to break that habit of something that was not healthy for my body, not because somebody told me you can't have that anymore, but because I recognized I don't feel good when I consume this thing. And that is mindfulness. So making sure that these are all the, like, learning how to eat. Like, you can realize the cascade effect once you stop and learn these experiences of how you're eating, slowing down, like eating at regular intervals throughout the day so that it's not haphazard anymore, paying attention to how it really makes you feel. Like, those are so elementary, but they're so impactful for everything else that goes past that point.
Huge. Okay, so where do you include a treat, dessert? Is that part of the dinner meal? Because I know that for me, that is after dinner. Like, I can do very well all day. I may have a bar over yogurt, high protein, all that good stuff, good lunch, dinner. And then after dinner, probably, decision fatigue, all those, all the work I've done through the day. I'm hungry. I can do well, but then I still want something, a treat. And so that's when I would have a double chocolate brownie bar of ours or something. That's why I brought them in as a set.
I ate through my whole box, and I'm now on the toasted almond, vanilla almond, which are really good too, but the double chocolate brownie bar, those are my favorite. The thing with what I would call splurges is that they're so much more doable to manage when you have filled yourself up on the good stuff first. So as I'm coaching good nutrition, I always leave the things that you need to try to limit and pull. We know what those are. We know they're the high sugar, high fat, high sodium, highly processed foods. Like, we just know, like, no one needs to tell me that that's unhealthy. But usually we go straight for that. I would call that like maybe a blue square skill level of removing that stuff out of our diet. So it's so much better if you start with, what do I need to add in more? Okay. So if we start with fiber. So I'm going to make it even easier on you.
Is fiber, are you thinking fiber is like Black Diamond? Is that complex?
No,
fiber?
just like when we're eating food, we don't think of like the individual nutrients. We eat meals, we eat food. So this is what's really helpful. So, and I'm going to say something that you're never going to forget for the rest of your life, and it's going to help you create a healthy meal in every situation you ever find yourself at from here on out until the day you die. Okay?
Everybody lean in.
Lean in. At every meal, eat your pros. Okay? So just put protein on your plate and produce on your plate.
Oh,
that's it.
Oh, hello. Megan, say that again. At every meal. Say it again.
Eat your pros. Just eat your pros. Okay? So protein and produce. Look down on your plate. I don't care if it's a snack. I don't care if it's breakfast. I don't care if it's dinner or what it might be. If at any moment you can look down and say, I see something here that represents protein. This is good protein. Okay? What is missing? I don't see produce here. I need to make sure I get produce here. Guess what's in produce? Guess what's the very best source of produce? Fiber.
Fiber.
So you see where when you think in that construct, you make sure that you're getting what your body needs, but in a far more, like, you don't have to feel like a nutritionist to be able to accomplish it. Mm-hmm. Right? It feels so much doable. So we can use one of your bars as an example. This is a great source of protein. We've got 8 grams of protein in the bar. So we've got a good, we're checking off we got protein here. What are we missing a little bit? If we're going to have this as a snack, produce.
Oh, produce. Although, yes, there's high fiber. Okay, but there is high fiber.
There's
from
great
chicory root.
Fiber.
Does that count?
So we just want to make sure, like, if you're going to grab one of these as a snack, this is a great source of your protein. It does have great fiber in there, but we could round it out a little bit more and just have a banana with it. And now you've got a really great snack. Have an apple with it. So we've got the protein, we've got the produce. Easy. Like, it just... I was
gonna say, now, fruit counts as produce, right? Yes. It doesn't just have to be green veggies. No. So you don't have to have a salad with your breakfast.
Yeah. Okay. Don't make this harder on yourself than you need it to be. We don't need to overthink it. Walk into the produce department, and anything that's in the produce department goes. Okay? Anything goes.
So a big pile of blueberries. That's what I like to have is blueberries. I love blueberries. Bananas I love too, but they tend to be more sweet for me. I'm a less sweet person. I've trained myself off of that ultra sweet, you know, that thing you get when you drink Diet Coke. Yeah. That ultra sweet need. Yes, I left that behind, I think in 1998. Maybe.
So you were, what you did was you had that mindfulness piece that I was talking about, where you noticed one day, like, certain things just taste really ultra sweet to me, and I don't necessarily like how that feels from my body. So I'm just going to kind of angle away from those things. And
I find a blueberry, which some people find very tart, very sweet. So the more sweets you let go of, then you get that good sweetness from the pro area.
Your pros. Yeah. And it just makes it so much like more doable. You know, you can go to a restaurant and be like, okay, what on this menu looks like it has a lot of protein and a lot of produce with it. And you just start to think in that framework. You can teach it to your kids. You can teach it to your husband. Like, it just, you know, versus like, okay, we need to be eating this ratio of macronutrients, and we got to get these micronutrients in, and our phytochemicals and our fibers, and our, like, we start to feel like we have to talk and behave like a nutritionist, and then we get stuck and overwhelmed and feel like, well, I'm never going to be a healthy eater. Mm-hmm. We get to that day 6 and we're like, I'm going to give up. It's like, let's simplify it down so much so that you feel like no matter your situation, you can still make a healthy choice. Even if it's not perfect, there's still something you can do here that's still like checking those good boxes off. Yeah.
I love that, because who needs to feel like a failure when you're trying to do something good for your body?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's just not worth it. So you did talk about splurges a minute ago of like, when do you have the sweet things? So once you make sure, like, okay, I've eaten all my meals, I've done a good job of making sure that I'm not nutrient deprived. You know, all of my meals were full of protein, full of produce. Now I'm not like I'm realizing I'm not craving those splurges quite as much as I used to because I'm not hungry. I'm not nutrient deprived anymore. Now I want you to change your mindset a little bit around those sweet treats or whatever your splurge might be. And we have a tendency to call them like our cheats. Like, this is our little cheat.
Yeah, I never liked that word.
I don't like it.
Again, that's another way that we shame ourselves.
Yes.
Talking about we're cheating.
Cheating
so I'm glad we're on the
is always a morally wrong thing to do, right? Same with we call certain foods like that's a big temptation for me, or that's my weakness. Like, you know, white chocolate mochas were my weakness. So what if we start to use slightly different vocabulary, and because words are powerful, and when we change the way we talk about foods, like it changes our perspective about it. So instead of calling things a cheat, call it this is your splurge. Like, this is where you're going above and beyond. There's nothing morally wrong about it. And then if there's something in particular, like if you're a chocolate person, like if that's your thing, instead of calling it your weakness or your temptation, call it your favorite. Do you see how?
So you're honoring it instead of
you're totally
shaming
it around.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing that thing like, whoa, that's my favorite. And once you apply that word to certain things, you might realize that, wait a second, it's not my favorite. Like,
oh, interesting.
And you have Cheetos, I used to think like that was my temptation or weakness, but once I used the word favorite with it, I realized it's so not my favorite. So now I'm realizing, now I'm able to be more mindful and realize when I'm around Cheetos, like, that's not my favorite. What is my favorite is chocolate. So I'm just going to skip the Cheetos and make sure that I'm actually eating the thing that truly is my favorite thing, the thing that really satisfies, the thing that really I fully enjoy. And then all the habit work that you put into eating slowly and mindfully, we can apply it to the food or the splurge foods, your favorite foods, so that you really enjoy them. You're not scarfing them down, you know, and being like, where's the next? Yeah.
I love that.
Like when I eat chocolate, because chocolate's my favorite too. I'll have a piece of chocolate and I literally like will take a small bite off of it. Not that I'm not out of a diet mentality at all. I'm just like trying to savor it as long as I possibly can. And so like I'll suck on it and like try to really fully enjoy it. And I find that I don't need as much when you take.
That's where that mindfulness comes in, right? Eating slower, going back to what you said earlier, eating more slowly, being more mindful, actually tasting what we're eating versus having 3 pieces of something and you don't taste the first one, right? You scarf the first one, you just eat it. And then by the second and third, you're like, oh, this is so good. Oh, the third, you start to really slow down and taste it. What if we actually taste the first one and then you only need one, right? Not 3.
And you really enjoy it. And you start to think through, if I kept going, how would I feel in 30 minutes? Would I still feel okay? You know, how would I feel in 3 hours? How would I feel tomorrow? Like, you start to just be a little bit more aware when you're eating.
You know, the gift of this, Megan, is not only can we nurture our bodies better when we take your advice around eating more slowly, more mindfully, focusing on the pros first, is that we can carry, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. And so carrying this whole concept, this framework into our lives as midlife women, especially during peri-menopause and post-menopause, because we can savor what we have. We can enjoy the experience that we have. We don't have to chase something that actually makes us feel bad about ourselves. You know, we can choose, we can splurge on the things we enjoy and have less of them and enjoy them actually more, because we're not doing too much, we're not overtaxing. And don't get me wrong, we can achieve anything we want, you know, never too old, all those good things. I didn't start this company at 55 because I thought I would not have the energy for it, you know. But it's how you approach it, and from a place of honoring the experience. You don't have to overdo it. and really get the results in a simplified way. That's where working smarter, not harder comes in for me.
Yeah.
And that is the benefit of midlife wisdom. And so I love the idea of applying that same thing to the way we eat. We don't have to get so complex and, you know, over scientific about it. It's actually, nutrition is quite simple.
It is. And, you know, for the nutrition nerds out there, like there's so much that you can really dig in. But I think it's helpful to know, like, you don't have to go that complicated to be really healthy, to be a very healthy person, and to know that you are, without a shadow of a doubt, nourishing your body well. Because there's always this piece inside of us, like, I'm not doing this right, and I'm not doing this good enough. I'm not good enough at this. And there's something about nutrition that always feels like we're not doing it good enough. And I think once we, you know, lower our expectations of what good actually looks like, we're going to be so much more surprised at how successful we actually are. And that gives us that motivation and momentum to like keep going. Like, this is great. Like, this is so easy. This is so doable. And I'm feeling good, and this is sustainable. And I can totally see myself doing this in 10 years. You know,
that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Sustainability, to be able to be consistent, because that's where we get gains in the gym. We grow anything, whether it's a business, a career, a family, is by being consistent and doing those small amounts, not just looking at, you know, the most complex thing that there's just no way we can do it 10 years from now. And I'm going, my goal is a healthy 100, healthy, sexy 101, Megan. So I'm going to keep the bar low and be consistent, right?
Yes, you and me both. I'll be right there with you, Julie.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You've shared so many amazing, I can't even say tips, I would say nuggets of goodness. So rich. Is there anything that we left out that you wanted to share, or did we cover all the good stuff? Well, there's never all the good stuff.
We covered a lot. And I did see a question that came through that might be worth just parking on for half a second. Someone said, is there any room for carbs on this plate? And I think that this is worth talking about, because this
huge.
The carb thing is really confusing, and this is another thing that gets complicated real quick. And I need to, like, when we talked about the amount of fiber that's in produce, there's a lot of good healthy carbohydrates in produce for you as well. So produce is an excellent source of carbohydrates for your body, but also good whole grains and whole food sources of the starchier types of carbohydrates. Like, when you think of like classic carbohydrates, like potatoes, rices, grains, cereals, those types of things. Yeah, they absolutely have a place on your plate. They just shouldn't be the star of your dish. Like, we need to, like, especially those of us in America, we have a tendency to make those starchier forms of carbohydrates like the beginning of our plate. Like, that's the star of the dish. And then we try to backfill with like a little bit of vegetables here and a little bit of protein here. It's like, let's make sure that we're starting with the pros. Those things need to just take up the bulk of your dish. Lots of protein, lots of produce. You can't go wrong with that. And then adding in a serving of those starchier, like good whole food sources of carbohydrates, you're going to feel really great. So starchier forms of carbohydrates absolutely have a place on your plate. And this goes back to like just not living this restricted dieting mindset of like always trying to reduce and cut back. It's like, let's start with filling your plate up with the really good healthy food stuff, and you're going to feel so much better. So hopefully that gives people a little bit of a taste of, you know.
I love that you said that. Thanks for catching that question. It's a really important one. And I love that you reminded people that vegetables are carbohydrates. You know, we think that carbs are only white, right? But for me, a hack that's helped me a lot is that, one, I eat out of bowls now. I don't eat out of plates anymore. Okay, you want to hear my obsession? I love a perfect bowl, right? Not too big, not a big, like huge pasta bowl, you know, like a trough, no troughs, right? But no tiny little cereal bowl either, just somewhere in between there, a good medium-sized bowl. And you'll find me everywhere at Home Goods or, you know, somewhere fancy at Williams-Sonoma, looking for wonderful bowls. So have favorite bowls that I like to eat out of. And then I got a little fire emoji on that one. Then I used to love, I'm a pasta girl. I love pasta, all kinds of pasta, the thicker penne, you know, oh my goodness. But what I do now, I used to fill the pasta first and then the vegetables and then a piece of chicken or whatever on top. Now I kind of like to eat the same thing over and over. It's easier, super basic, but I love broccoli. So I will fill the bowl with broccoli now first, and then the pasta on top of that, and then my good sized piece of chicken or salmon or steak or whatever the protein we're eating with that meal. And then for me, the treat is the splurge, the splurge is I like fresh Parmesan. So I'll put fresh grated Parmesan on top of that.
So I actually, here's a little thing too. I would not call that a splurge at all.
I know, right? Because it's got great protein in that Parmesan.
It's got protein and it's the healthy fat piece too. Yeah. So we didn't talk about fat at all, but like at each of your meal, you should have about a thumb-sized amount of a form of healthy fat. And that could be from cheese. And so I would say if you didn't add something like that, your meal might be missing something. Yeah. So yeah.
So that's my favorite. Add that Parmesan. Add that Parmesan. Yeah. But you know, I can go, the reason why it's a splurge and I have to call it that, because I have to be mindful, because it could be like a lot of Parmesan. I know. You know, when you go to a restaurant, oh man, would you like some Parmesan? Keep it coming. Yes. I'm like, okay, keep going. And he's like, what? Yeah, keep going. Yeah, keep going. That's why I have to be mindful and not the second round of like, oh, I ate halfway through this. Let me go get some more. Yeah. So, but filling up with your vegetable first, and however much you used to use or, you know, like of your white carb, fill it up with the green carb, you know, with your veggie and all that good fiber. I'm so full, I barely even want that pasta. I just want small amounts. And that has been a huge trait for me. Or a game changer. An up level. And that's what I look at. That's how I see, you know, I want to eat whole foods as much as possible. I always just try to up level what I'm eating to get the most nutrition, the most fullness and satisfaction by eating it. And so that's why we say, you know, if you can't eat whole foods and you need to have one of our bars, MenoWell bar in your car, because you're driving around and you run out of time. You don't want to drive through somewhere because you're so hangry, you need to have the next best thing, and that is, you know, bar that's made only from the best whole ingredients.
Well, and that goes back to that first tip we talked about, is if it's a mealtime, you got to eat something. Like regardless of what it is, we need to just get food in your body. We got to get nutrients in your body, and that is so important. And we're always going to feel like it could be more perfect, but don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. And just feed your body. And this is I have like one of these every day. So this is a really great.
That's a huge compliment, Megan. Thank you.
I'm going through them really quick.
Well, they keep you full, right? So much fiber, healthy fats, sweetened with dates. So, you know, I was very thoughtful. I created them for myself, but when you're in midlife, you deserve only the best. You can have a lot of other junky, unhealthy options, especially when you're chasing protein. And that's what I call it. You know, a lot of women now will ask me, well, you know, I only eat bars or something that has 20 grams of protein. And I said, have you read the rest of the ingredients? You know, it's better to have a good solid amount that meets your needs, and then you can add your pro on top of it. Add your protein, add your produce, add your Greek yogurt or something like that. Healthy.
So, I love that so much.
Well, I just always want to keep inviting you back. This is our second time. There's so much. I mean, we can talk more about mobility next time, because as I am in the gym, I'm telling you, the lower back, the hips, as I'm doing all those things. So, you know, is it bad that I want to ask you like 100 questions for myself, that me and my best friends?
Chances are, whatever questions you have, there's about 1 million other women that are wanting to know the answer to it. So
Okay.
Yeah, I am happy to cover anything, especially mechanical, of how your body is moving and functioning. What's cool about the nutrition side of things, I like to call the nutrition, this is like the chemical. This is like what's helping your body like chemically function good from the inside out. And then we can work on the movement piece. That's like helping you mechanically move well. And those two things together, that's where the magic really happens. And what's so great is that like neither of those pieces need to be complicated and not doable. You know, we can make it so attainable, and that's where you'll actually stick with it and feel so good in your body.
This is why I love what you teach, your approach, who you are, because you really take the whole woman's body, not just physical as a trainer, not just nutrition, but you help put it all together in a really simplified yet super powerful way to help us feel better. So I appreciate you so much, so much. Okay, so I know women are following you already, but if they're not, you need to go to tell them all the places to follow you. And I think you have a great download about what not to eat. Yeah, so tell us about that.
Yeah, I've got a great download, and actually I think what I might have recommended to your team, I have a slightly different one that I think might be a little bit more fitting. So holidays are like we're here. So we talked about splurges a little bit, but I have a whole like holiday splurging blueprint that like helps you go through like this splurging mentality specifically applied to the holiday season. Like I'll help you with that like sweet tooth. I'll help you with party situations. I'll help you with, you know, how to handle those splurges. So if you just go to holidaysplurging.com, like just all one word, holidaysplurging.com, you can grab that for free. It's a simple download. It's beautiful. Go to holidaysplurging.com. And then, yes, definitely come follow me on Instagram. I've got a lot going on over there. And then check out my podcast too. We've got new episodes twice a week. So a great one dropped today talking all about fascia. Next Tuesday, we've got one talking about nutrition, elastic eating. So I explain what elastic eating is, which is kind of a fun concept too, which is really helpful.
Well, don't tell anybody, so they'll have to wait.
No.
I want to know now, of course. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast too, so you know when Megan drops every 2 a week. That is awesome. You are a producer. That's what I will say.
Team.
Woo, right? Thank goodness. Megan, share the link for your holiday. Oh, it's holidaysplurges.com, right? Okay, so
splurging. Yeah, holidaysplurging.com.
Splurging. Okay, I'll share it on our end so we can get that link out to our email list, because we want to make sure that they're armed and prepared as well, because the holiday times get tricky. Definitely get tricky.
We do. And often a lot of us are like, this is too hard, so I'm just going to put it on the back burner until January.
Yes.
And then in January, we jump on the double black diamond hill.
Which you will please come back in January, so we can keep people off of the, maybe, I don't know, we'll have to do like December, like, how's your splurging going? And then get them off the double diamond, because that is what happens, right? We feel like we have to double down because we got too far off the path during the holidays. So good stuff. Thank you so much.
We don't make those mistakes in the new year. Yeah.
Because you want to enjoy the holidays, but can I just say one little thing on the Meno Lounge here? And that is, holidays are, I've shifted my mindset around holidays are about eating. Holidays are about family and friends. And so the more I can focus on that, and then the eating comes after, then the less I am concerned about, what are we eating there? What kind of desserts are going to be there? How many glasses of champagne am I going to have? I'm only going to have one. I can't even drink one anymore anyway. In midlife, it just does not agree with me anyway. So, but instead of
there, Julie, that's spot on. I mean, it's spot on. It's the holidays are about the friends and the family first, and then the food is just part of the experience. It's not the experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Eat your meals first before you go to the good meal. Then you won't want to eat that stuff anyway.
Eat your pros.
Eat your pros.
Eat your pros.
Eat your pros. I love it. Megan, you're the best. Thank you so much for being here. You are such a light in this world. I really appreciate your work. So please come back. Everybody follow her. Go to Holiday Splurging.
Holiday Splurging. There's no E in there, people. It's just Holiday Splurging. Yeah, we always spell it wrong.
I was going to say. I used to have a show on TV called Prerogative. That's the worst name ever because who knows
That
how to
is
spell
so.
prerogative?
Is there R-E-E-R?
P-R-E-R, right? Who knows that? It's a great word, but it's spelled terribly. So anyway, different show.
Holidays,
I forgot to ask you before you go, what does MenoWell, Menowing well, mean to you?
You know, you asked
it's a new question.
This last time, and I think that my what I said last time is that you're not a victim to your circumstances and to what's going on around you. You're not you're still in control. What I'm going to say this time is that we can still feel great and simplify it at the same time. Like it doesn't, like Menowing well means that you're not having to overcomplicate it and overwhelm yourself. So simplifying it is such, like if we can do everything we can to keep it simple and stay on the bunny hill as long as we can.
Yes.
I'm all for
yes.
that. Yeah.
Life is good on the bunny hill. You can actually like have fun and look cute and not wreck yourself.
Right.
Over double time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank
If I don't speak to you sooner, happy holidays, but I'm sure I will. So
okay, we'll plan on it.
Be well, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here on the Meno Lounge. Bye, Megan.
Thanks, Julie.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.